Yo, what's up, John Luca? Good to connect today, man.
Likewise, good to be here.
Yeah, man. Nice. Good to see you. Uh, I know this didn't just happen because we were recording a video before, but you were sick at the time. But yeah, like I guess for anyone watching, like on my website or whatever, yeah, like what's the update? What have you been up to since finishing your master's program? Looking for a job, and now what's the update now?
Yeah. Finished my master's in May 23, and I think we met around June of 2023, and that's like when you did the pitch to me. And I was looking for a job since January 2023, so I could get a job like right out of my master's. But yeah, that wasn't the case. I was struggling. Didn't really know my stories and that sort of thing. And yeah, I kind of just needed help in getting interviews. I was trying to do tech sales, even though I have like this technical background in information systems. I thought tech sales was the best, path for me since I really loved connecting with people. I did really well in presentations in my master's program. So yeah, when I graduated in May 23, didn't have a job. You reached out in June 23. We started connecting and started the process of, meeting multiple times a week.
June 2024, right? This year.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
You want me to restart?
No, you're good. You're good. It's all good.
Okay. So yeah. And, graduated in May 24. And we met in June 24. And that's when we started meeting multiple times a week, going over, what companies I'm applying to, what people I'm reaching out to, and like what interviews I've set up, and then also meeting multiple times a week to kind of prepare for those interviews. And yeah, so it was definitely a process. I didn't get an offer from my dream job, which was at AWS to do tech sales there, until end of September. So it was definitely a process, but it was worth it in the end for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Talk to me about like what were some of the things like going through your head even before we started working together, or like, and then what were you going through even going through our process together in terms of like challenges, setbacks, uncertainties, whatever.
Yeah. No, I actually had multiple interviews with AWS, but for like positions.
Yeah, you interviewed before we even started working together, right?
Yeah, like actually when we first like reached out to me, I was in the process of interviewing there, and I didn't end up getting the job, and that's probably because I was underprepared, didn't have my story straight, wasn't using the STAR method correctly. Yeah, could you ask the question again?
Yeah. And then like, so we started working together. Along the journey, what were some of like the challenges you felt like you went through, or like even times of uncertainty or doubt where you were like, man, I don't know if this is going to happen.
Yeah.
I might have to take a job at a really shitty company, whatever you were thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I was getting a lot of interviews at, companies I wasn't passionate about. You could say like DocuSign, or, GitHub was a kind of a cool gig that I interviewed for, but didn't end up getting it. So when I was getting rejected from these, companies that I wasn't really passionate about, and, I was definitely overqualified, that definitely was a little discouraging. And I just knew that the next time I had an interview at, let's say like an AWS or Microsoft, that, I had to crush it. I had to do well. And until that moment though, I was definitely a little discouraged because I was getting rejected from these shittier companies.
And there were some ones that were like, we don't even know like the company. No one would even know the company, and it was like you got rejected from that place, or whatever.
Like a small AI company for sure.
And I think part of that too for you was like it can bleed through whether you're passionate about what they do or not. It can be hard to fake like interest in a company if you really couldn't see yourself working there. And also too, I think for you especially like you were doing really well in terms of like the process of booking interviews, like really taking a lot of action, sending a lot of cold emails, booking interviews that way. But I also felt like you really had to go above and beyond in terms of persistence of like not giving up, because you would get to like final rounds or later stages and then it wouldn't go your way. Like, how are you feeling like later on, like, once me and you had been working together for a few months already, like, would it be demoralizing getting that far?
Yeah. It was a little bit demoralizing when I was, getting rejected from these, companies for sure. I can totally agree with that. But I just knew, there's definitely going to be that time coming where I was going to interview with AWS again, or Microsoft again, or NVIDIA or IBM, or a bigger company. And I needed someone to talk to, go over my, interview technique, what to say in the interviews, how to get, the people interviewing me to, fight over me and, want me on their team. So, that was really helpful. I was able to talk to you on a daily basis. And that was definitely really helpful because, a lot of people, they think they can just do it on their own and figure out what to say on their own, or they talk to a friend or their parents about it. But, you have a good insight on, how to do well in these interviews and how to do well, like in a tech sales role, and like what the right things are, like what to say ultimately.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad it was useful as well. Okay, cool. So like a couple like rapid fire questions. How did you first hear about me? And then like were you skeptical at first at all?
You cold outreached me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Nice. And then when we first
saw that you're like, you help people get interviews, or you help people trying to get into tech sales. And that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, I mean, I was interested. So I listened to you, with your pitch, and I was on board because what's the worst thing that can happen? I don't get a job. The best.
Yeah. Especially with like kind of the performance success-based setup, right? Where it's only if you get a new offer in, the 5 months maximum. Were you kind of skeptical at first, like when we first met, of like, whether I'd be able to get you the result, like what my
I was definitely skeptical. I was like, I was definitely skeptical. I don't know how else you can put it, but yeah, a random person reaching out to you, they have no idea who they are. It was definitely a little skeptical, but I think anybody would be,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, totally. So for you, what made you decide to like pull the trigger and just do it anyway?
Because I was having trouble since January of 24, not even January 24. We could say like, I graduated with my undergrad in May of 2023 from the University of Arizona, and then went straight into my master's program. And like during that master's program, it was like a work compatible program. So I was trying to find like a tech sales job just to do during my master's, but I was having trouble doing that. Had multiple interviews, but was getting rejected, even though I'm pretty qualified. I just don't have that tech sales experience. I have customer facing experience with Lakini Vineyards and then at Nordstrom, but no tech sales experience over the phone sitting at a desk. No, none of that. So I'm kind of rambling, but
no, that's perfect.
I didn't have interview experience or tech sales experience to help me with that interview.
Okay, gotcha. And then for you, what were the exact results for you? Like, what was your new salary in this role? And then I mean, before that, you were basically unemployed. I mean, you just graduated, so unemployed.
I mean, AWS, they pay well. It's one of the best companies you can work for. So many different benefits. So, I was definitely really fortunate. to join that company. At this time with AI and all that innovation. So, I mean, do I just say my salary?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. There's a bonus when you join, but also your starting salary is $80,000. So I think it's like $39 an hour. So what you do is you punch in your hours for the week, equals 40 hours a week. So ultimately you're getting paid $80,000 a year. And then you have commission too. I'm not really sure what my commission is. I'd have to look it up or just ask my manager. But yeah, I'm only in my third week right now.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, and how's it been? How's it been so far? How are you liking it?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, my whole entire team is my age or younger. Some people are 21, 22, 23. Some other people who are onboarding with me, one's like 30 who came from Meta. Some people are like 25, so they're young, and they want to get on the phone. They want to bring people to AWS. They want businesses to use more of AWS's services. So it's definitely a great place to be in the headquarters in Seattle. It's a pretty cool place. And my manager, I think he's one of the best managers in my department, is what a lot of people are saying. So, I'm loving it so far.
Nice, that's awesome.
Kind of excited just to, what the future holds with this company, because I think their earnings just came out last week on Halloween, and the stock went up 6%. So, also
Nice.
have stock incentives in my offer too, which is awesome. So like the longer I work there, the more stock I get. So it's just, if you stay with the company longer, you're passionate about it, you're gonna get stock. So
nice.
I only think of great things for the future of Amazon. And I actually went to an all Amazon meeting today in Seattle, where the CEO Andy and the CEO Matt of AWS, Matt, spoke. And they're just really fired up about the future of AWS and Amazon as a whole. There's definitely a bright future with that company.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, and for getting such a good result for you, and obviously, I remember when we first started, you were down because you had just been rejected from Amazon, and then to turn around and then get it as the final result, it felt really good.
I was like, damn, I actually have to join a DocuSign or a smaller AI company and then go back to AWS, because I actually did an informational interview with a guy who's in my department. He's on a different team, so I'm on the greenfield team at AWS, and he's on the engaged team at AWS, trying to get sellers who are already engaged with the services, and I'm on the greenfield team, who are businesses that are spending around $1,000 to $10,000, not that much money. So I informational interview with him, and he told me I need more experience in order to be on his team.
Oh, really? Okay.
In that informational interview, and I was like, all right. And then he was telling me to be more objective, but I just got out of college, so how am I supposed to have that experience? So I wasn't talking to some people about that. A lot of cloud leaders that I know in the area, they're all agreeing with me, how are you supposed to get experience when you're just out of college? So I wasn't too discouraged. So I knew when I had that time come again with AWS that I was just going to leverage my projects in college and talk about why I'm passionate about the company ultimately.
Nice, that's awesome. So, okay, with such good result here at the end, what would you say in terms of advice for anyone going through this process? Maybe they've never met me before, or just they've barely seen me before, but even they're just going at it by themselves, or if they were to work with me, what advice would you give to any types of those people?
Yeah, well, Alex is definitely going to help you get interviews. I had interviews every single week of that 3 months, pretty much. I had a lot of interviews, so that ultimately prepped me to do well in the AWS one.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, because you had all these like at bats of practice, even though they weren't going to the end. And then you had like the main event of like, the World Series of your interviews, and then you were like so ready at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing a lot of interviews. I probably had around 30 throughout our time together. And every time before, I had an interview, I was meeting with you and practicing. So I just had so much practice. And, with all the hours that we met with each other, it definitely, the benefit of the cost that I'm going to end up paying you at the end when I got my job, like with the offer, like it was definitely worth it because we practiced so much together and you took so much time to, make sure I was prepared for these interviews, even with like a shittier company. So, yeah, if for advice, for anyone who's like on the border, if
Sure.
it's going to be worth it once you end up getting that job, because right now you don't have that job. And if you really think you can do it on yourself, like, it's definitely a smaller chance, but it's a higher chance if you have Alex by your side. Yeah,
that's awesome. Nice. And who would you recommend like this kind of service for, like type of person, like where someone is at in their life, or like, maybe what kind of challenges someone might have, who would be the best for this kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, my shoes, like I didn't have any tech sales experience, zero internship experience. I worked at Nordstrom and Lakini Vineyards, family business. So, I did well in my academics, but, for someone in my shoes, it was definitely the right choice because I didn't have any experience. And I didn't really know like the right lingo in the tech sales world. So yeah, someone who, doesn't have that tech sales experience and, isn't really good at storytelling quite yet. That was probably our biggest thing is, starting strong with your stories and emphasizing, your stories and relating to like the values and the leadership principles within the company. That was, there's a lot of stuff that goes into interview. You got to look up the person, you got to ask good questions. So, with that whole process we did together, like, I feel like, I can be in your shoes right now, Alex, and help other people out too. So I've definitely learned a lot. I know you've had people reach out to me, who want to get into tech sales, and I've given them some advice. And yeah, some of the advice I would give someone is, when you're in that interview, you got to be passionate. I probably drank 3 Red Bulls in my Amazon interview. You gotta be passionate. You gotta be energetic. You gotta relate your stories to their leadership principles. And you just got to prove to them that you're going to outwork every single one of every single one of the employees they're going to be working with. And, there's going to be a lot of smart people that are going to be interviewing for that position who probably have experience, but yeah, you really got to emphasize that you're going to outwork them. You're coachable. And, you want this.
Yeah, that's to add a couple things as well on this is like, I think, for your circumstance, your interview, if someone's watching this and you're interviewing at a top company or trying to get into top companies, like, yeah, you'll be competing against other smart people, but don't underestimate that. Like, a lot of people they do research, but they don't like really go the extra mile of like, doing a lot of mock practice for interviews, really doing like deep research on all the people you're interviewing with, writing, for me and you, writing down really good questions you're going to have for these people.
Yeah.
I think that stuff goes a really long way. And then practicing, like you said, telling the stories of like, make your interview answers compelling. You need to illustrate all your points with stories. So people aren't just like taking your word for like, I'm a super hard worker. It's like much better to tell a story about how you had to work super hard and now that led to success,
Yeah. A lot of people say like at Amazon, like the questions you ask are, one of the biggest factors in like, if you're going to get hired. So, you gotta, start your question off with, something that relates to you, and then, propose your question. So I had some good questions for the interviewers, but
Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say for someone who's like, because we talked a lot right now about interviewing. What would you say for someone right now who's just like having trouble booking interviews to start in terms of like,
yeah, I
advice,
think,
what you went through, what you learned?
yeah, the cold emailing process, that definitely helped a lot, because I could cold email so many people so quickly at a company, and have them refer me to the position, and I get the interview. That was definitely the easiest part. But
it's a lot more challenging practicing to get good in these interviews, right?
Yeah, the easiest part was definitely booking the interview. It was finalizing and getting the offer.
Yeah.
But
For a lot of people,
Alex will teach you his ways to getting the interview. It's not too difficult. You'll get a hang of it. When he first shows you, it's going to be like, what the hell is this? But it's pretty easy to pick up on.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I try to just make it super easy. So it's like reduce the amount of thinking, right? Like once we kind of write the templates of the cold emails. But it's interesting too, you say that of like how easy it is, because I think for a lot of people, I think that's what they struggle with the most is like they're not even getting enough interviews to be able to like practice for a lot of them. And I think a lot of that comes down to like the strategy, or even the strategy like they teach in college and like career advisors and career coaches and all these people is just like.
That reminds me, my college advisors, I met with them a lot, practice interviews with them, I had a AWS interview coming up, and I was practicing with them, and they're not it. Yeah.
What did they say for like how to like book interviews? Just did they say like tailor your resume every time?
Not really anything for booking interviews.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing. It was mostly just practicing with them for interviews, and the feedback they gave it was just not great. It was mostly they would be like, good job, like stuff like that. And not worth it.
Yeah, I think, also for anyone watching this, like if right now you're like tailoring your resume for every job, writing these really advanced cover letters and just like mass applying to tons of jobs and you're getting frustrated, like there definitely is like a better way, which is like what I'm all about, is like going against the herd, going against the grain, right? Like we want to figure out what is all of our competition doing and do the opposite, because the fact that all your competition's doing it doesn't make it the most effective strategy. If anything, it makes that strategy might have used to worked, but because everyone else is doing it, it makes that like the maximum competition path.
You're not. If you want to get interviews, you gotta do a cold outreach to leaders within the company, and talk to them face to face, like what we're doing right now, and then ask to get referred to position. You're not just gonna get interviews by just applying.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, cool. What would be your biggest learning from this experience, even from like, I don't know, stuff that you can bring into sales now that you're in tech sales?
Biggest learning, definitely learned a lot on how to interview. So I think I'm pretty set on that, but we're still connecting weekly, just to help with how to prospect, how to get opportunities in this position. So I'm only my 3 weeks in, so I'm still learning a lot about the company, and definitely I learned a lot about how to interview and do well. It was just a lot of practice.
Nice. That's awesome. And you're going to see that's going to pay off as well. Like even with like cold calling, and then when you start taking sales calls, it's like that, at least that's my whole approach to it. And like with working with anyone is like, I'm really trying to bring like the sales training approach to this process. And like, you might not, even for you, Gianluca, you might not even know how much it is. Like, I'm actually just teaching you the sales stuff, like while we're doing it. But then you're going to see as you start doing sales calls and cold calls and stuff, it's like a lot of the interviewing stuff is like it's human nature and it's like psychology, like people love stories in sales, in cold calls, in sales calls.
Yeah.
So if you can give stories to illustrate, like people will get behind that. Like that's why we all like read books, watch movies all the time, because we love hearing stories to like understand the world. And then the other thing too is like, obviously confidence is huge. Like people literally just make so many snap judgments about you based on how certain you are, how much confidence you have. And then, I think learning, like in interviews, learning about the challenges that the company is having or that person's team is having, right? Like what are the opportunities for their team? And then when you're pitching yourself after you've kind of asked them a couple questions about like what are their current challenges, what are they going through, what's priorities for them. Now it's the same thing in sales that we do all the time, is like you want them to position your solution or you want your solution to basically be the bridge between what their current problems are and where they want to be, and that's kind of what you're doing in an interview too, of like you're talking about your skills and what you can bring to the table. And if they're right now, they want to book more meetings on their team, or they need people who have some previous experience, even not in sales, but just doing something related, and you can kind of bridge that. They're like, oh wow, this would be a great guy for my team for that reason,
Yeah.
And that just how people buy and make decisions. It's just like, you want to solve your problems, so people want to pay to solve. If like your prospect, like you're going to be selling to now, AWS, if they can pay you guys to solve the problem more efficiently, it's worth it.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. It was I definitely learned a lot. And adding on to what you said, once you learn a lot, you'll be set for your job. It's kind of like once you get into this job, like you're pretty much set. It's just getting that first offer.
Nice, that's awesome. What the other thing I was going to ask you is, what do you think in terms of like persistence or like like was there ever any point when you were doing the process where you were like close to giving up?
I think after I got declined by DocuSign or like some shitty company, I was like, what am I doing wrong? But once I got that interview with AWS, I actually got declined from this position, but the guy, I was doing like a strategic generation representative. So I'd be working with like enterprise companies and doing sales with them. And like one of the questions they asked me was, like, what was the most complex sale you did? And I was like, I only worked at Amazon. So no, not Amazon. I only worked at Nordstrom. So I gave like a short story of doing a sale to a Seattle Seahawks player. So, I was a little discouraged after that because, he ended up not giving me the job, but he referred me to this other position at AWS. I was like more tailored towards graduates and people who don't have that experience. So, it worked out in the end, and I was like, oh, I have another shot. And then, I aced it. So, I was definitely a little discouraged when I got, rejected from these shittier companies that, I wasn't passionate about. So they probably saw me lying through my teeth of, I want to be with this company.
Okay. Gotcha. What would you say, what have been the biggest benefits of working together, like working with me in this process?
I think the biggest benefit was being able to talk to someone, weekly. Sometimes we'd meet 4 times a week, sometimes just twice, but literally before every single interview, we'd probably meet at least once, but maybe 2 or 3 times. That was definitely the biggest benefit, that I was able to talk to someone and just go over what I'm going to say in the interview, what questions I'm going to ask the interviewer. And then the second beneficiary was, the outreach that you taught me and getting those interviews lined up.
Okay, nice. Was it useful as well, like me giving you like pep talks, motivation as well? Or like, did you feel like you didn't need that as much, more just like interview practice?
The motivation was nice. You can't go wrong with some motivation.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, I mean, because I'm always doing that. I mean, that's something that like inspired me to even like want to kind of work with people doing this stuff, is because I know I was like, I was someone who was like always like giving my friends advice, or they're asking for things. And I actually studied psychology undergrad.
Yeah.
Like I was going to go like the more business track, and then I got interested in psychology. I wanted to apply it to like more of a business setting. So I think definitely too, like at least from my vantage point, like where I stand is I think a lot of times it's like people are doing the right stuff, but they're either not doing it in the volume required, or they're giving up too easily, or they're, it's just like you have to keep the momentum strong and just take everything as feedback, right? If something's not working, you just have to adapt, look at the situation objectively, adapt your approach a little bit, tweak something you're doing and what you're sending or what you're saying in email. And then from that, just keep going, but like keeping the motivation high, because it's like for someone like yourself who just, maybe things aren't clicking at the beginning, but you persist long enough, you can't always get a job in like 30 days. Like, I've helped a couple people recently and literally it took like 30 days or like 32 days. Right.
Yeah.
And that's ideal situation, but it's like in your situation, it's almost better to like, it takes 3 or 4 months, but then you get a job at AWS. So it's like really being persistent, not giving up, and just like keep going. Like because my point of view, it's like, it's inevitable. Like you will get results if you like just keep doing the inputs, and they're the right inputs, because if you're booking interviews, it's the right input. And if you're getting to final rounds or getting to later stages, you're doing the right stuff in the interviews. And sometimes it's just probability, like you lose out to someone else who already knew the interviewer, or they go with someone else, and it's like, what can you do about that? So you just have to keep going.
Yeah. That makes me think, if I like had a recording of that interview I had probably in, that first AWS interview that I had in June 24, and then compared that recording to the one I had in September, it was probably a dramatic, increase in improvement. So, it just takes time.
Nice. Okay, cool. Nice. All right. Any parting words for anyone watching? Any advice, like anything?
Just don't get discouraged. A lot of people tell me things happen for a reason. So, it happened for a reason, that, I was getting rejected from all these bad companies that I didn't like. They're great companies, GitHub, DocuSign. Those are good companies, but don't get discouraged. It just takes time. It just takes practice. You might think you're really good at interviewing, but could be the case, but most of the case is you're not. So don't get discouraged, and you always have someone to talk to, so that's great. And Alex, he's going to motivate you, so that was definitely the best thing.
Nice. And what was the risk for you in working together, right?
There's no risk, right? Because worst thing worse, let's say I got rejected from AWS again, there's no risk to keep on trying. So
yeah, totally. And like in terms of like the way I work with everyone, it's all performance based, which I'm like, I think that's how I'm motivated too, because I'm like, I've been in sales, I'm motivated by like wanting to get the result, not just like clock in, clock out, just like if this wasn't like performance based, it's like, okay, connect on a couple calls, here's some advice, have fun, bro, best of luck to you, but it's like, no, I'm going on these calls until you get the result, and then obviously, we can record the case study.
I definitely got my money's worth, I think, because we met so much, so I definitely got my money's worth.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. No, dude, it's been awesome working together. Yeah, we've had fun on these calls together. But yeah,
even after too, like, you're a smart guy, you know how to invest too. So we're still going to meet and, talk investments, because, now I'm getting paid, now I'm getting, money. So, I want to invest. So you got a friend too, Alex is going to help you.
Yeah, totally, man. Awesome. Yeah, man, it's been awesome working together. And then, dude, excited to see where things go with AWS. And obviously we'll connect. about all the investing and other stuff. But yeah, dude, no, keep it up, man. I think, yeah, just keep bringing the same energy you did in this process to, just learning as much as possible, absorbing as much as you can, getting into some of the sales books and like even free stuff on YouTube. But just like immerse yourself, take massive action. Like I think that's to as my end of this recap. Like I think some things that you did really well are shoot first, ask questions later, just take massive action. Like when in doubt, just send more emails. Don't overthink. Like even if you send someone the wrong email, you send the wrong person an email, like what's the worst that will happen to you? They're just gonna be like, I'm not the right person. They're not gonna like penalize you. You're not gonna get fined. Like nothing bad will happen to you, But like for someone who hesitates and gets paralyzed and is like, I need the perfect thing to say. My resume needs to be perfect. I don't know, like who's the person to reach out to? Just reach out to all the potential people if that's how you feel,
Yeah. Literally reach out to 5-10 people within the organization, and hopefully one of them is going to reply, and you're going to be able to talk to them, and they're going to be able to refer you to the position. So and then like if you think you can do that on your own, then do it, but you're not going to be able to talk to someone or someone who's been in your shoes and has been in the industry and knows what to say in the interview. So
definitely. Yeah. I think people can do this process themselves. And then if you decide, you want my help, I'm just going to try to speed it up for you and make it easier. So you don't have to hit your head against the wall, trying to write emails from scratch, what to say in interviews, and then obviously the practice, like you said. But nice, man. It's been awesome working together. And then, yeah, dude, appreciate your time tonight. Going in depth, but yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thanks.